So I now want to kind of start mixing up what I do and get this area dirty. It's dirty. Again, another fresh cup. There's a couple of things you could do here, and both methods work out fairly well. Done it where I've taken coffee, a little bit, and mixed in a bunch of dark ash, cigarette ash. Actually, no, I'm sorry, cigar ash. So you can go that route, and then you paint it in everywhere you want it and get it all in there, but it dries and the ash kind of comes back to a dry state and can blow out fairly easily. So I came up with a slightly different method, and I thought we would try it. Still involves ash. Now we're going to do this in 2 coats, because the layered effect of relicking works so much better. And the idea is that when you're able to do something in layers, it looks more genuine. So let me pick up some of my nasty cheap cigar ash. I use my good friend True Oil. We're going to put just a little bit in there. Just enough. Just enough. And I will grab a couple brushes. I want to be able to blot if I want. I'm going to blot if I want, and I'm going to pad where I want it to be. So, and by turning the brush as you blot, it randomizes where everything is. So I did one light coat with the white in here. And I did that so that you could still see some of the black grain. I never really know how it's going to turn out, but when I saw it there, I said, oh, I'm done. And even though I sprayed the body with more white, I covered this up when it dried so that I could keep it looking like that. Okay? Okay. So, let me get a little bit of this mixed up. And again, I go back to my matchsticks. Just mix in a little bit. Now the process for this is to put it on and then remove what you want to remove. Now I mix this heavy. There's a lot of ash in here. And what we're going to focus on are the curves that meet the bottom. That's where most of it accumulates. I'm not going to try and cover every square possible inch. There's really no need to do that anyway. So, get a little bit on there. I'll move this so you can see it. And I'm just going to start blotching all around. By doing this, we're going to show where the areas are that can't be reached easily and cleaned up, which I'm sure have been done over the years. And remember that you're going to cover some of this with, you got neck pickup and things like that. So, but get it in there, cover it up, wipe off what you don't want, get some on top of that white circle, get it into the corners, and even up the sides of the walls, because he had it everywhere. And if you have a little overflow, we'll just wipe it off. So I got a little bit there, and I'm going to work a little bit on the sides here. And if you get a big splotch of it, just work it with the brush, and you'll take it right off or thin it out. Okay, so you see I got overflow there. Comes right off because it's still wet. And it is oil, so try and get it off your brush as soon as you can. This is the same brush that I come back in and smooth this out for where I want it to be smoothed out. Okay, so I don't know if you can see that, but that's the gunk. Who can tell me where the other spot is that we have to do the same gunk effect? Go ahead, I'll wait. Where's it need to go? Ah, I heard somebody. Somebody said it. Below the spring claw. Up in here. And around these edges if you want. Because that area underneath where this claw sits, I can guarantee has never been cleaned. So we're going to add some in there as well. Remember, you're selling it. And I know there's white tape that comes in here later. Alright, so I'm done with doing the true oil, and it's just about dry in the crevices where the dirt would trap and everything else. And that's what it looks like. But we also finished the back right here. Is add a second layer, and it's going to have more of a brownish, powdery look to it. So if you look fairly close, you can see where you've got the splotchy dark grime down there. And then you've got kind of this brownish, powdery dirt dust stuff. I add a little bit now, and then once we get the hardware installed, we apply it to the base of the hardware and all over the selector switch and around the feet of the humbucker and all that. For the big reveal, this is it. What that is, when it comes off in a fine powder, that's what it looks like. So what I do is I want to stir up some of the bigger bits, because you want to get the fine powder. And you don't need to grind it all, but you don't want to pick up any of the big pieces with your brush either. So what I do is I push all the big chunky side stuff over, and it gives me a nice collection of fine powder down here on one side. So something like, something like that. That little bit of fine powder right in there, that's all you're going to need. So I try to use a fluffy brush. And it's a little bit of water. And what I do is I just get this a little bit wet. Now if you don't get wet enough, it's not going to pick it up and disperse it. But do a little dab, get some of that powder, and start rubbing it on there. And you can see how it goes on kind of as a dirt and just darkens things up. Well, when that dries, it's going to give you the right look. If you get too much, just rub it out. Add a little more liquid. And get down into the crevices there. That's where you want that grime to be. Get it along the walls. And if you get a little bit on top, let's wipe that off. Now this is a scenario where, because it does dry, if you have too much in some spots, you can always come back and easily wipe it away. It's not hard. Push it down into those creases there. So you can get it to stick a little bit better. I put too much water on there, and that's what happens when you do that. So as I get a little bit more, and under here is where you're going to see the underside, or you won't see it because wires are covering up this whole area for the most part. But once that dries, it'll have a nice brown kind of grit look to it. Push it into the crevices down in there, along the walls. There, that's all you want. And you can brush a little bit along the walls more, just to get it worked in a little bit. There. And that's it. We're not going to do any more until we come back after the hardware is in place. Now, blow some of that out. Wipe off whatever you happen to hit the top with here. That would still just add more to the relic. So, but that's pretty much what it looks like. So you've got the dark splotchy stuff underneath. You're going to have that brown powdery in there as well. And once you get the hardware in, we're going to add more to the top of the hardware. But that's the inside. I'm going to come back with a brush and clean off a few areas. That's a little bit heavy over that white circle. And I'm going to just remove a little bit of that. Kind of show you now what that looks like. So it doesn't take much, but you can just kind of do that, and you'll have one little spot that has a little bit less. So we're going to add a little bit more to that, but we'll do it later. Ciao. What you do to the front, do to the back. But do it underneath where that claw goes. And up along this wall. Get it into the corners. And if you can, brush it out towards the center. Try to pat that into that middle seam, or that 90-degree angle that forms. I am going to add a little bit along the areas back here that you rarely ever see, but you know that there's grime there. And that's this back wall and the little shelf at the bottom. And again, just adds. I keep saying it sells it, but it does. That's what it does. That's why we do this. Just wipe up a little bit in case some go on the outside. But now you can see down into that wall, down in there, that we've got some grime. And the wall back here and on the sides. And then we've got this caked up underneath the spring claw. And that's about all I would do right there. I won't touch the back again. I used to. As soon as this dries, I'm going to come back and I'll show you what it looks like. And I'll show you where I remove where I think there's too much. Alright, so things dried overnight. And I like everything but the main humbucker. Go in with my brush and just remove a little bit. And leave some in the corners where I want. So it looks a bit more like that. This back area turned out good. And down inside, worked out well. Just wanted to show you that you can remove a little bit